What is a qualified lead? How do I find them? Why does it matter? In this video, we're going to look at how to qualify leads effectively as a salesperson and how to manage this pipeline based on whether or not leads are qualified. So the reason we need to qualify leads is that this allows our salespeople to stay focused on the opportunities that are most likely to turn into sales or customers quickly, and let marketing and other tools take care of the rest. So you have leads from all sorts of different sources, all the different marketing activities that you're undertaking: internet, advertising, trade shows, webinars, referrals, and everything else that you're spending so much money and time on. And all of those leads are coming in, and they're not all ready to write a check today. If your salespeople treat each and every one of them the same, number one, they'll scare a lot of them off, and they'll end up talking to your competitors. Number two, you're spreading your salespeople too thin, and you end up with that back and forth cycle of salespeople spending too much time closing deals and not enough time prospecting, which means in a month or two you won't have anything to close. So what we want to do is identify what makes a solid opportunity and teach our salespeople to ask the right questions to figure that out and focus on those opportunities, and give them tools and processes to manage everybody else that hasn't quite come up to that level of qualification. One of the most time-honored approaches to qualifying leads is what's called Bant. It's an acronym for budget, authority, need, and timing. So if the customer has all of those, then they're probably a pretty good lead. So they have a budget that fits with your price range. They have the authority to spend the money and make the decision. They have a need. There's some reason that they're going to benefit from your product or service, and the timing is right. This isn't something they're thinking about doing 3 years from now. It's something they need to do in the near term. Now, there are other approaches to qualifying leads, and certainly you want to customize your approach to your unique business and your customers. Another really important thing to know about a lead is what's their decision-making process. Especially in a B2B situation, you need to know who all's involved in the decision, what your contact's role in the decision is, and what's the company's criteria for selecting a solution. So these are all great questions to ask, and when you get good answers, that helps you know that you have a highly qualified lead. You can also dig into the value proposition for each customer, especially when we're talking about high ticket items, when you're selling something that might be $50,000, $100,000, or millions of dollars. Then you're really looking for the win-win. You're probably going to be spending a lot of time with those customers. You don't want to invest a lot of time in somebody that's not going to end up moving forward. So what's the value to the customer of fixing the problem? How are they ultimately going to benefit financially by spending this $500,000, for instance? And also, what's the value to your company of this customer? Not all customers are the same. Not every customer is as profitable as the next one. Will this customer be highly profitable for your company or not? You can probably develop questions that are specific to your industry and your product and your customers to understand these things. Okay, so once we've identified the questions that we want the salespeople to ask a new lead in order to determine if they're qualified, let's see how we can set it up in the CRM so it's easy to track the answers to those questions and manage the pipeline based on that qualification. So first, we're just going to create a few fields that lets us track the answers to those basic questions. We'll just use those Bant questions. Here we have budget and some different ranges that the salesperson can choose from a pick list or a drop-down, or they don't have a budget or they don't know what it is, right? Then there's authority. Do they have budget authority? Are they a financial influencer, a member of a committee? Are they just the support staff? Are they the technical influencer? And you may want to add your own specific values or answers. Need. Is it because they're needing to improve performance of a process or a machine or something else? Are they trying to reduce costs? Are they replacing an aging model? Or do they just not know why they need one? These are things that you need to know, and probably your answers will vary. Timing. Different ranges. Is it going to be this month, the next couple of months, 6 months, 12 months, or do they just not know? Now, let's say that we also want to have a field to capture their decision-making criteria. How will they decide if you're the right vendor for them? So we're going to create a field called criteria. We'll make it a drop-down, and we'll put a few values in there. So maybe they have a requirements list that we need to match up against. Maybe it's all about the price. Maybe it's about performance, whatever that means in your business. Maybe it's about overall cost of ownership. Or maybe they don't know. Maybe they just haven't decided a selection criteria. So, as you saw, some of these fields, we've created values like unclear or none or something like that. So that's basically saying this lead is probably not qualified. Now that we've created the fields to capture this information, let's put them on the screen so that the user, the salesperson, can easily capture the answers. So what I'm going to do is go over here and grab my budget and authority and need and timing field, and then I'll go back up and find the criteria field that we created. There we go. Save that. And I'm going to change this to be called lead qualification. And now, as a salesperson, when I'm talking to a customer, I've just called them, I'm talking to them, asking them questions, I can quickly, as I'm talking to them, put in the values. So, in a quick conversation, I've asked them, what kind of budget do you have? And they told me it's $5,000. And what's your role in this decision-making process, Mr. Customer? Well, I'm the CFO. And why is it that you're looking for a product or service like this? Well, we're trying to cut the cost of this or that. And when do you need to have a solution in place? The next couple of months. And what are you going to base your decision on when comparing one vendor to the next? Well, it's going to be based on the performance of the product or such things. So easy for the salesperson to enter that information. Now, of course, this is all searchable. So in the future, if I want to find everybody that had a budget of less than $10,000, I can do a search for that. And now I can manage my salespeople in a very powerful way. So here on my dashboard, I'm tracking where leads came from, and I'm also looking at how many leads have come in from various sources that were qualified. That's an important distinction. But here, I'm looking at my sales pipeline where the lead is not qualified based on the answers to those questions that we just looked at. So what does this allow me to do? Well, it allows me to know that these reps probably their pipeline, the sales forecast that they're turning in, is probably close to accurate. But I need to get Nick in here in my office right away because he's got almost $500,000 in his pipeline that's not qualified. That's actionable information. That helps me coach Nick on asking the right qualifying questions and keep all of my salespeople focused on opportunities that are likely to close.